Welcome, everyone, to the Teevee The Marketer Podcast. Today, we are joined by Erin Neill of Hanby Insurance. She's actually been someone I've known for many, many years, over 10 years to be exact, and is now my insurance person. And it's something I actually will be discussing later in the podcast because it took a long time before I even did any business with Erin. But over the course of time, she just became a trusting person that I now get. She has almost virtually all my insurance business. So I don't know if you knew that. But Erin, welcome to the show. If you would please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Teevee, thank you so much for having me on today. So I'm Erin Neill, and I own Hanby Insurance. I've been in the insurance industry for 24 years this year, and it is something that I'm super passionate about, and I'm just very grateful for the opportunity to be your insurance person.
Thank you. That says a lot. Actually, 24 years. And you mentioned passion. Oh my goodness, I have a wasp in the house. How'd they make it up 9 floors? I'm on the 9th floor of this building. Sorry. But Erin, you said you were passionate. Tell me about that. What exactly can make you so passionate about insurance?
Well, insurance is the number one tool that will protect your financial stability if anything crazy were to happen, right? So most people, their biggest assets are their homes and their cars. So if they get in an auto accident or some crazy happens to their house, the best way to recover from that is by having insurance. And so my passion is just educating people on insurance and why it's important.
That's interesting. How I actually never, I guess, put it in that box. You're insuring people's biggest assets, which is valuable. You need something to protect that investment. How did you get into this 24 years? You don't look like you're over 30.
Well, thank you. So when I was in college, I was working at the mall, and I was looking for more of a professional career, I guess you could say. I was in school to be a teacher, and I went to the College and Career Center is what it's called. And back then, I'm sure it's all online today, but they have big binders with job descriptions in it. And I started going through a binder, and one of the things that really stood out to me was a receptionist position at an insurance agency.
She started from the bottom.
Answering the phones. Back then, we had all paper files, and I was a file clerk. So really at the bottom. And then I learned more and more about insurance and how it kind of related to education and teaching people about their insurance, and decided it would be a good career path for me.
Fantastic. That's how old were you there?
19.
19. That's a great age to figure something out.
Yeah.
You put a lot of years into it, 24 years of experience. That's insane. So when we met, how many years? You're 10 years in?
About that. I think that we've met in 2010 or 2011. So
Yeah. And where we've met was East Dallas Network. And it's a group, one of to me, the best networking group in all of Dallas, but I haven't been to the other, so that's kind of a biased statement. It's the place where I really started taking off with my business and learning what networking was. When I got there, I didn't have a clue as to what it was. I just showed up and tried to be friendly. I met you there. And one of the big things that I definitely wanted to talk about in this podcast is when I started looking through everyone that I give my money to and that takes care of my health, to either invest it, protect my property, my assets, and protect myself. Every single person came from the East Dallas networking family tree. So I trust people with my finances. I trust you with everything. It's insane to me just how many of those people from that group ended up being someone that I trusted. And I guess that's the big lesson for me was and what I learned in marketing is that, especially in these kinds of things, it takes a lot of time to gain trust. And you never, ever sold me on anything. Like, you just were a friendly face, and you were kind whenever I asked questions, and you were just fantastic. Like, what's your approach when it comes to trying to find new clients?
For me, I'm relationship-based. So I guess relationship-based marketing is the best way for me to get new clients. And then I do a couple of the networking events or groups now. Like I did back then. I kind of got out of it for a while whenever I got married and started having a family. But I didn't necessarily miss the business aspect. I miss the relationships. I miss seeing people every week or every other week that, sometimes owning a business is kind of on an island, right? And so when you're around other business owners,
Right.
it just gives you a great place just to realize, like, I'm not out here all by myself. So I still do some networking, but I actually get most of my business from word of mouth. So referrals from current customers. I really enjoy dabbling in online SEO. I manage my own website.
Right.
That's one of the things that we used to talk about back then. And so, I mean, you get clients multiple ways, right? Like, it's not just one way. Like, it's a whole bunch of things that all come together. But I think that the key to it for me is just relationships. Whether somebody finds me online, on social media, or out in the community, I want to get to know them as a person.
In a world where we're bombarded with insurance commercials and advertising, I used to be with, was it Geico? The Geico. Anyway, for literally, and I've actually watched sports from time to time. I watch like the Cowboys or NBA, and I'm just counting how many insurance commercials come on. Sometimes it'll be back to back to back. And it's insane, but there's obviously, they're pouring a lot of money into it. As a marketer and an advertiser, I've actually also read that they also have some of the biggest market shares because they have the biggest budgets that they can spend to give, so people can give them a chance. How are you able to differentiate yourself? Is it just the relationships, just like you stated?
I don't think it's just the relationships. I think part of the way that I differentiate myself is by educating my customers. So really talking to them about what their insurance means. What do their liability limits mean? What does that look like for them if they do have an auto accident? I also differentiate myself because unlike a lot of those carriers that have the big marketing budgets, they've only got one option. So like if you call Geico, on the auto side, you're only going to get a quote from Geico. If you get a quote for homeowners insurance, they'll quote you with whoever they have in this region. In Texas, a lot of times it's Travelers. State Farm only has State Farm. Allstate agents typically only have Allstate. But at my agency, I represent multiple companies. So I work for my customers to make sure that they're getting the best coverage and a great price. And that way, when something happens with one company, I can go back and recheck everything and see if there's a better option somewhere else. So it's more, again, about serving the customer and not just putting everybody with one company because that's all I have.
So I told you, and you know this obviously is you, but for your audience, I actually, you've always been in the back of my mind. And every once in a while, I'll actually drive or walk Rockwall. Where are you based at?
Rockwall.
Yeah, Rockwall. And recently, even seen your billboard. I'm like, oh, I know her. Is it still there?
Yeah, I have two of them now.
Oh, wow. Look at you. So I had a Geico, and I've been happy with them. It's fine. But I thought about getting a Tesla. So I started looking into insurance, and I don't have a Tesla, by the way, to your audience. But I thought about it. So during that process, I actually was Googling insurance and the process for that. What were the complications? What should I be aware of? And I had questions. So I remembered you. And I said, let me just ask Erin. Erin should know. Erin knows everything. And that's one thing I remembered about you. You know everything about this stuff. Called you, was on the phone with you for a while. And I don't remember if it was right away or days later. I thought to myself that one way or the other, I was going to give you all my bits. For the car that I had, and I think even at renters. And now you have 3 of my cars. But I remember that the reason for me, the deciding factor was I wanted someone that I could speak to, much to your point. There's a lot of automation out there, especially with Geico and all of it. You're not talking to anyone. And that can be very convenient, but I have questions. I want a human being and someone that I trust. So is that outdoors?
Yeah, that's what I was like.
I thought it might have been indoors. I was like, oh no, do you have to leave the building?
No.
Like, oh crap. I literally thought that. But I remember just making that decision. And then of course my older daughter got a car. My younger daughter got a car. So it was really an obvious choice to go with you. And then I trusted that you would look around and try to find the deals that were necessary that you could get. And also, and I think this is one of the things that what I've learned, because a lot of people will find the cheapest insurance. That I see them all the time. What would be a reason to not just get the cheapest insurance, in your opinion?
So what a lot of people don't realize is the liability limits that you choose on your auto insurance are really important, right? And the liability is what it pays for the other guy. So if you got in a car accident and you rear-ended somebody, they said they got hurt pretty bad, how much is your insurance going to pay for that person? And I don't like to say this, I don't like to talk about bad things, but let's say they died. Well, if you only had the state minimum limits in Texas, which is $30,000, let's just say it's a Geico, they're going to write a check for $30,000, and then they no longer have a duty to defend you at all. So you just had this really bad accident. It was your fault. Something horrific happened, and now that person's family is getting $30,000. And if there's any kind of lawsuit or anything like that, you can personally be held liable for that. And so as somebody who wants to make sure that your assets are protected, we recommend that you carry much higher limits. And that's why. And the same thing happens on the property damage side. So the state minimum limits for property damage in Texas are $25,000. As of a few months ago, the average price of a new car was $47,000.
Oh, wow.
If you have those state minimum limits and you just accidentally totaled somebody's brand new car, well, now you could personally be on the hook for that difference. And so, most people are like, oh, I just want the cheapest. And if it's the minimum and that's what the state says I have to have, that's what I want. But they don't realize the ramifications of that decision, which is, if you have any type of assets at all, even if you plan on earning money in the future, they can come after you for future earnings.
I've never thought about that.
And so, don't just buy the cheapest insurance. My stance on it is to buy the most insurance that you can afford.
Yeah. I remember being just 15, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to buy anything past the minimum. But once I really figured it out, so I actually sat down with another insurance person and they were explaining to me the very same thing, and I hadn't put that together. This is the uneducated. You don't know what you don't know. I seem to say that every podcast too. You don't know what you don't know. But when you buy the bare minimum, it'll cover you in case you get pulled over. And I think a lot of us, that's when you're poor or you're struggling and you're just trying to make ends meet. You're just trying to make sure that you have the bare minimum as far as the state is concerned. But when he broke that down to me, essentially what you said, I'm like, oh crap. That's actually a relatively high probability of somebody getting hurt in these accidents. You see them every day and take for granted that it's happening to people every single day when we're driving and we're stuck in traffic. It's like, oh, damn, they screwed with traffic, but somebody got into an accident and somebody could really be damaged or hurt. And the ramifications of that are huge. So as soon as I could, I started to actually have a little more. To insure with insurance that I was going to be able to at least protect myself. Now, the idea that you just said about them going after your future earnings, now that's crazy. I didn't even consider that. You didn't mention that. That's huge. That's painful. That can hurt generations down the line, right? Well, I'm glad I'm with you. Like I said, one of the things I recently got a car out of the blue because I needed to give the other car to my kid. And I just texted, I emailed you, hey, Erin, here's the information. What can you do for me? And off you went. Or was it your assistant? It may have been your assistant. Point is, I really, really personally now at this point in my life, appreciate having people that I can talk to. So I love your business model. How was it when you were first starting out, though? Was it a challenge? Was it because it takes time to build this portfolio of clients, I'm assuming? Yeah,
so it does. And it was really hard. So my first 10 years in the insurance industry, I was with a captive company and I was with Nationwide. They've since gone independent and they have all the same carriers and stuff that we have now, or a lot of them. But back then I was kind of used to that one carrier model. And the first thing I had to do was learn how to deal with multiple insurance companies and learn the ins and the outs of each company and the coverages that they offer. And then I also had to learn how to get clients because the company that I was with had one of those big advertising budgets. And I very quickly realized that I did not see that fit. Yeah, very quickly. when I was sitting there going, why is my phone not ringing? Well, nobody knows about you. And that was also right before the days of social media. Now when people change jobs, they can just go put a blast out on Facebook and, half of their contacts find out, within 24 hours or whatever. But back then that wasn't the case. And so I was like, okay, I have to figure out how am I going to make this phone ring? What is that going to look like? So I had the learning curve of figuring out all the companies. Then I had to figure out, okay, what is the best way to market? And I did. I started with my friends and family, and I kind of made a list of people that I did business with to reach out to. Also, when I first started, I worked a part-time job at a tanning salon in the evening. So I would work my insurance business during the day. And then after work, I would go clean up sweaty tanning beds. And I started giving my card to the tanning salon client saying, hey, my day job is an insurance agent. And I still have some customers from the tanning salon.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not. But I've always, my whole life, I've been a relationship-based person. It's like I meet people and I kind of put them in my pocket. Like you and I met East Dallas, and
That's a great way to put it.
We've just been friends forever, right?
Yeah.
Since then. And so I've just kind of done that my whole life. So I started kind of with my network. And then just branched out from there. I started a referral program for my current clients, asking them to send me business. Back then, all I could afford was a $10 gas card to the Shell station, but I would send them a $10 Shell card every time. Now we send $20 to Amazon.
Inflation.
But well, everybody has it, and now I have customers that are all over the state, and some even out of state. And
both.
Yeah, I used to try and do things locally, like a local car wash or something like that. But then I would send it to a customer that's down in Austin. Well, now I come to Rockwall to get their car washed.
Smart.
So anyway, so I started with a referral program. And then also when I started, insurance agents didn't have social media and they didn't have websites. And all of my mentors were like, oh, you can't do a website. Somebody will, sue you because of something you say on your website or on social media. Can you give coverage advice online? And I started reaching out on Facebook to other young agents that I saw were doing it. And so I started a Facebook page. I set up my very first website. A friend of mine helped me with it. And just kind of grew from there in those avenues. But that's really how I got started. And it wasn't easy. It was really hard, actually. But very grateful for it.
How long before you were convinced? How long before you quit the tanning salon?
I worked at the tanning salon. I gave him a 1-year commitment, and I think it ended up staying 18 months.
And how long before you realized, or there was a point where you had to quit and you made this your full-time gig and you felt good even that this could be your long-term gig?
It was right around the 12-month mark. So I told them when I started, but they were having a hard time there finding, and I can't think of the word right now, but dependable help in the evenings. Because, most people that work at a tanning salon are, high school, early college kids. And I was in my, late 20s and I just really needed the cash. So I said, yes, I'll be your night manager. I'll do for 1 year. And about the year mark, I was because I was working the insurance office from 8 to 5 and the tanning salon from 6 to 10 or 6 to 11. And then the tanning salon on the weekends too. So it just started, I started doing more marketing. I started going to, more of the networking stuff that I really needed to focus on for the insurance agencies. So at 12 months, I went to only working the weekends at the tanning salon. And then maybe one night a week if somebody called in or something. And then at the 18-month mark, I was like, okay, guys, we're done for now. And they're still friends of mine. So, but they helped me, get my start.
So sort of somewhere. Yeah, sure. I love the hustler mentality. You're just trying to do whatever you can to bridge the gap between working for someone and ending up doing the thing yourself. Tell us about Hanby. Why Hanby Insurance?
So Hanby Insurance was a big blessing for me. So when I very first started, I started from scratch. So not only did I not have a name, my cousins owned an agency in Denton, Texas, and it was it's actually still one of the 5 oldest businesses in Denton. Rayleigh King Insurance is the name of it. And they kind of helped me get started because as an independent agent, like you don't just go out and get an appointment with travelers but you can get started under an umbrella and build a book of business. So that's what I did through my cousin's company. And it worked really well. They ended up forming a company called Agents Alliance that helps other agents get started in the business. But I was their very first scratch agency. Well, after a couple of years, they had also owned Hanby Insurance. And they originally wanted it to be a second location for their agency out of Denton. But it didn't really pan out that way. And so they gave me an opportunity to buy it in 2011. And so I bought Hanby, and then for a couple of years, I tried to be Hanby Rainey King, and finally, I think it was 2013, I just dropped everything but Hanby and branded the Hanby agency.
Was Hanby around in that area before it was an established brand?
Oh, yeah, I should have finished that. So Hanby, sorry. Hanby was the oldest insurance agency in Mesquite when I bought it. It was founded in March of 1940. So we just had our 83rd birthday. And it was family owned until my cousins bought it in 2007. So the Hanby family owned it. Mr. Hanby started it in 1940. And then in 1974, his son-in-law took over and then ran it until 2007 when my cousins bought it. So it's a well-known Hanby Stadium in Mesquite is named after the founder. And the Hanby Elementary in Mesquite is named after the founder's nephew. And then there's a street named after the founder's mom or wife. I can't remember now, sorry. But yeah, so Hanby is really well known in Mesquite and has been there forever. And so that's why it was such a blessing to get to buy that agency. And I felt like I had a lot to work with on the brand because I do really enjoy marketing. And so I was able just to take it and run with it. But that's the history of Hanby.
Interesting. My daughters went to school in Mesquite, and I think I've seen the various things you just mentioned and never put it together. I knew part of the story, but I just guess I didn't know it all. That is super neat. So my daughters will, when they listen to this, I hope they listen to my podcast, will get a kick out of that because they both graduated. Well, one's graduating this year from North Mesquite.
Oh, I'm a lady stallion too.
No kidding. I gotta tell them I just interviewed a lady stallion. I'll tell them that. Funny.
I never got made fun of until I went to college, and they're like, "Oh, stallions. So you were a lady stallion?" Yes, we were.
Yes. I don't know what else it could be other than a lady stallion. Dang it. Thank you for that history lesson. It's always. I enjoy listening to the backstory, especially in this case where you purchased an established brand. That's a great opportunity. Love that you literally ran with it. From the moment I met you, you were already doing SEO, you're doing marketing, you were doing things that at the time you're still actually one of only a handful of people that have actually done that kind of thing from the moment I met them. So kudos to you. It's really not a surprise to me that you succeeded. You had something. And it's pretty impressive, and it's stupid cool because that was the other thing. I was wondering, is she still in business? So when I started thinking of you, I actually had trouble thinking of Hanby, but so quick disclaimer: it's on Facebook. I have everything turned off. The news feed is turned off, so I don't see anything there. And if I did that because I'm always in Facebook doing ads for my clients. And the last thing I need is to be distracted with the news feed and like, oh no, rabbit hole. And off I go. So I hadn't seen anything from you in years. But I knew that we were friends. And I was like, I sure hope that she's still in business. Of course you're killing it. Especially once I saw the billboard. That's one of the coolest things to me in terms of the networking is as I drive around town, I'll see people that I know well. Like their marketing, their advertising, their bands, or whatever, their gear. And I know them. I've known them for years. Like, so neat. So, congratulations on, would you say 48? No, 68.
83rd.
Oh, God, I need to way up. I need to write this up down next time. 83rd anniversary this year of being in business. Wow. Cool. What are things that people should keep in mind when it comes to insurance? Whether it be home insurance or auto insurance? Questions that they should be asking, but don't.
The first thing I'd say, and it's going to probably sound cliche coming from an insurance agent, but it's not all about price. So we kind of touched on that a little bit in the beginning, but I've never known anybody that just had like a fire at their house or a major auto accident, that's like, oh, sure, I'm glad I bought that cheap insurance, right?
Right.
And so don't stay so hung up on the price. When it comes to auto insurance, the minimum limits that you should be buying are $100,000 per person, bodily injury, $300,000 for an accident, and $100,000 property damage. And that's the minimum. That's a minimum that we recommend in this office. But if you do, decide to purchase what we recommend, we also recommend that you look into an umbrella policy that would give you an extra $1 million in coverage. And you can go up to 5, 10, even the $25 million umbrella. Of course, you have to go through another market to get up to the $25 million mark. But you can get more than just those minimum limits. So look at least a minimum of 100, 300 on your auto insurance. If you're wanting to save money on auto insurance, especially right now with the market being so tough, the best way to do that is by the telematics. So I know all these commercials are out right now, like don't mess with my discount, or what's another one? Drive and save. There's just all these ads out there. Well, most of the companies have come up with their own version of the telematics, but you got to be careful. So it's an app that you put on your phone and it'll monitor your driving. Most of the companies, about half of them, have a period of 90 days. More and more of them are going to a full time. You just keep it on there all the time and it monitors your driving. But some of the companies will raise your rate based on that data. So if you're going to look into the telematics, I would ask, will this raise my rate? And how long do I have to use it? So like I said, most of the time it's a period of 90 days and it will not raise the rate. But some of them, it's more permanent and it can raise the rate. And that's about it on the car insurance side. I mean, there's other coverages you should have, such as uninsured motorists. About 1 in 5 people driving around out there don't have any car insurance. So you really should look at having some uninsured motorist coverage. Now, on homeowners insurance, I always say buying insurance isn't like buying bananas, right? Like you can go buy a banana at Walmart and you can go buy a banana at Kroger, and then you're going to get a banana, right? It might taste a little different, maybe depending on where it's from. But, for the most part, a banana is a banana. But when it comes to insurance, while we are regulated by the Texas Department of Insurance, every single carrier out there has a different policy. And on homeowners insurance, you could go from one company to another and maybe save $300, but you could be losing coverage like damage to your foundation caused by water or repeated leakage and seepage of water. Another one is additional replacement cost. So there's a lot of companies out there that don't even offer those endorsements. And because people think buying insurance is like buying bananas, they don't even think to ask that. So really get into the endorsements, and, it may be worth $300 for you to carry those coverages. In my office, I do every quote for homeowners insurance, just like I would my very own home. And then if you don't want the coverage, you can obviously take it off. But I don't want to give you the cheapest quote out there and then go, oh, but you should add this and this and this, and now here's the rate. I would rather just give you what the rate is with what I recommend, and then if you want to take something off, you can. Another insurance that's very often overlooked is renter's insurance. And now more and more apartment complexes are making their tenant carry renter's insurance.
Demanding.
Yes. So, but be careful, because a lot of times when you buy the renter's insurance through the apartment complex and they just tack it on to your rent, it's only covering liability. It's not actually covering your stuff. Well, you want coverage for your stuff, right? Like if you're going to pay $8 for the cheap insurance through the apartment complex, why not pay $15 or $20 and actually get your things covered? And you usually get a discount on your auto insurance that can almost make the renter's insurance free. But if you don't live in an apartment, a lot of the houses out there for rent are owned by individuals or smaller operations, and they aren't requiring that renter's insurance. And nothing makes me sadder than to see somebody that just had a house fire or something crazy happen and they were in a rental and they didn't have any renter's insurance, because it's really cheap.
How often would you say that happens?
Well, I don't always find out about it because they don't have insurance. But I was saying on my own personal Facebook, and I don't get on there that much anymore either, because I'm just like you, I'm busy. And if I'm on there, I'm usually trying to just find out how to work one of my apps or my cat has diabetes. So lately I've been on the diabetic cat app, like I'm not out there just kind of scrolling newsfeed, but at least once or twice a year, it comes across my feed. One of my contacts, somebody they know didn't have insurance.
Yeah. I guess what I was thinking is it's just more common than we know. Right. That's the point of it all, this accidents. And I'll tell you, I started to allude to this earlier. I actually have this really hate relationship with most insurances, just because it seems like almost any time that you actually need something, they make it really difficult. Whether it be health insurance, all the health insurance, especially, they make it so challenging to actually get what you've been paying for maybe decades before actually needing it. So at least knowing that you got the most protection, the protection that you need, and having somebody to advise you, because everything you do see is based, primarily, especially on the freeway, everything you see, once again, majority of what you see is saving money. It is about getting the cheapest rate. It is about getting bare minimum. Like we're the cheapest, but it comes at a cost. There's just some realities to it all. And that's when I guess getting older makes you wake up to that. Like, well, I can get it for $20, but what is actually being covered with those $20 in case a real accident happens? Right. So having someone, like I said, just giving them the options and then allowing them to make a decision is better than trying to want like a gotcha at the end of the thing. Like, oh, you could add these things later. Yeah. So very much appreciated as someone that, hates insurance. I really like you though.
And most people don't like insurance. And that's really hard too right now, especially in the insurance market that we're in. I feel like, every day somebody is mad at me and I'm like, I don't set the insurance rates. Those are set by the state. The state actually has to approve the insurance rates that are out there. So insurance companies can't just raise them to whatever they want. And, Texas Department of Insurance approves all of those rates. And then if you think about it, my billboard doesn't say anything about saving any money. It's just my mugshot and my logo.
You don't say you're the cheapest. And some of them are literally say cheapest insurance.
Right.
Almost free insurance. So there's just, as you get older, you need to recognize that everything comes at a cost. If you're getting the cheapest, at what cost? At what expense? If you're getting the most expensive, there's a reason. I heard something, quote that I love is, if it's the best, it's not the cheapest. And if it's the cheapest, it's not the best. And knowing that, keeping that in mind, like, all right, what concessions do I have to make as a consumer? What am I okay with? How much risk am I willing to take? And if you're okay with it, then so be it. But knowing that it could be ugly, like, you should be protected. You should have enough to at least absorb enough of that impact, and well, if it were to happen. Transitioning into the future, what are your plans for Hanby and Erin?
So my plan is to stay here at Hanby for another 20 years. And, I love my career. Don't plan on going anywhere. I would like to see Hanby continue to grow and continue to educate people out there on their insurance and, why they should carry good coverage, like you just said. And why they should have a personal agent. But yeah, Hanby is going to be around for a long time. We've got 9 people here in our team that are all here to help.
I love that. I love that you're growing. Nothing gives me joy than knowing that the people that I like and the people that I pay are doing well. And I just wanted to bring someone on to talk about insurance. Because like I said, I hate it, and I'm sure most people hate it, but it's a reality of life, a necessary tool. So if I could bring on my agent and have her share some of her insight and tips for managing it all, why not? And I'm really, really grateful. Thank you for the opportunity. Where can people find you, your insurance company? Where are you on the interwebs?
So our website is just hanbyinsurance.com. And then our phone number, if anybody still wants to call us, is 972-285-0381. But yeah, if you just type in Hanby Insurance or my name in the Dallas area, we should pull up on the web, and pretty easy to get in touch with. Hanby Insurance on Facebook as well. But yeah, we would love to help, and we have a page right online where you can go in and request a quote. Another thing that's really cool is you can just upload your declarations page directly to us from our website. So if you would like us just to kind of give you recommendations, because sometimes people, they'll say, I'm looking for the cheapest insurance. And I'll tell them, like, you have a really great rate, but I see a loophole here. And if I were you, I would call your agent and see what it would cost you to bump this up or make this change. But yeah, we love doing, insurance analysis. I love talking about insurance all day. So if you call and ask me an insurance question, just like you did with the Tesla, I'll talk about it.
I love it. Thank you so much. I will make sure to include all the links to her various platforms in the show notes and whenever we share it. Thank you so much for being a guest. You're my first one in a while. I'm going to continue to do these and bring people that I trust and respect in business to share with the world and see what happens. Hopefully, everyone learns a little something. Thank you for educating us all.
Well, I'm glad I could. And again, thank you so much for bringing me on your podcast. I have a lot of respect for you and excited to be a guest.
Thank you, everybody. Until next time, this is the Teevee The Marketer Podcast, and have a good day.
Bye-bye.